Imagine this. You board a brand new international flight, excited for your trip, and you walk past an enormous private suite taking up the space of what used to be 5 or 6 economy seats. Only 4 people will sit here in this luxurious cocoon. And you're thinking, wait, didn't airlines always try to fit as many people as possible? That used to be the rule of the game. Pack more seats, sell more tickets, make more money. But now, something strange is happening. Air France, for example, just rolled out its new La Première suite, one of the most luxurious first-class experiences in the sky. And to make room for it, they removed rows of economy seats. That's right, they're taking out the cheap seats on purpose. And they're not the only ones. Emirates is doing it. Delta too. All around the world, airlines are trading in volume for value. Fewer passengers, fancier cabins. In the middle of fuel price spikes, inflation, and unpredictable demand, when you'd think airlines would be squeezing in every seat they can, they're doing the opposite. So, why? Stick with me. Because what sounds like a wild luxury gamble might actually be the smartest move in the sky, and it could change what flying feels like for all of us, especially if you usually sit in the back. Let's get one thing straight. Airlines don't make money from empty space. They profit when seats are filled. So why on earth would an airline willingly rip out 50 economy seats just to install a handful of premium ones? Because those premium seats, especially in business or first class, are financial gold mines. What most travelers don't realize is that airlines aren't exactly rolling in profit. Even in their best years, the margins are razor thin. In 2024, the global average operating margin was just 6.4 cents, which means for every dollar you spend, the airline only keeps about 6 cents. Not exactly a gold mine. But here's where it gets interesting. While 95% of passengers fly in economy, a tiny sliver, just 5%, are sitting up front in business or first. And that 5% contributes up to 20 to 30% of total airline revenue on long-haul international routes. Think about that. A small group of high-paying passengers is keeping the entire business afloat. In some cases, those seats alone determine whether the flight makes a profit at all. So the logic flips. Instead of cramming in more passengers, the smarter bet is to sell fewer, higher-priced seats and build the entire cabin around them. But here's the thing. Airlines aren't just selling more expensive chairs. They're selling an experience. And that changes everything. Let's be honest, no one pays thousands of dollars just for a bigger seat. What they're really buying is status, comfort, and an experience that starts way before boarding. Picture this. You arrive at the airport and skip the long security lines thanks to a dedicated check-in and priority lane. You step into a private lounge where the champagne flows, the Wi-Fi actually works, and someone serves you hot food while you recline in silence. And that's before you've even boarded the plane. Then the real show begins. Your seat becomes a fully flat bed. You're handed a curated menu instead of a sad plastic tray. Maybe there's wine pairing, maybe there's caviar, you've got noise-canceling headphones, a designer amenity kit, and yes, sometimes even pajamas. The lavatory has fresh flowers. A flight attendant calls you by name. That's not just a flight, it's a 5-star hotel on wings. And yes, it comes at a price. Business class tickets can cost 3 to 6 times more than economy. First class? Try 10 to 15 times higher. But when passengers feel pampered, respected, and rested, they'll pay it. And many will come back again and again, especially if someone else, like a company, is footing the bill. From the airline's perspective, this isn't about getting you from point A to B anymore. It's about crafting a luxury experience from the ground up, a journey designed to feel exclusive, seamless, and worth every dollar. And when they get it right, it becomes one of their most profitable products. But of course, there's a catch. As fancy as they look, those front row seats come with a price tag that hits the airline just as hard, sometimes even harder, than it does the traveler. Let's take a modern business class pod, the kind that turns into a bed, has a sliding door, personal entertainment screen, privacy panels, mood lighting. Sounds cozy, right? Well, each one of those can cost anywhere from $100,000 to $350,000 per seat. Now multiply that by 30 or 40 seats in a single business class cabin, and you're already looking at millions of dollars sunk into just one section of the aircraft before the plane even leaves the ground. And it doesn't stop there. Those seats are mechanical marvels. They move, recline, swivel, extend, which means they break. A lot. Airlines have to constantly service them, update software, replace components, and deep clean every hidden corner. Unlike economy seats, you can't just spray, wipe, and call it a day. Now throw in the soft costs, the gourmet meals, premium wines, designer amenity kits, high thread count bedding, branded pajamas, nothing is off the shelf. And let's not forget the crew. Premium cabins demand more flight attendants, often the most senior ones. And yes, that means the highest paid, specially trained for VIP level service. So while the front of the plane looks like easy money, it's really a high stakes game. Airlines are shelling out millions in hopes that you'll shell out thousands. And if they misread demand, those million-dollar seats up front could quietly become the least productive space on the entire aircraft. But there's another piece of the puzzle most people don't see. Weight. Premium passengers typically mean fewer bags, fewer bodies, and a lighter overall load. That frees up space for one of the airline's most profitable assets, cargo. More luxury passengers up front can actually mean more room for freight underneath. That's another reason airlines are happy to trade 50 coach travelers for 10 in business class, plus a few crates of high-value cargo. Not all airlines are playing the same game, but they're all moving toward the same goal: fewer seats, more luxury. Let's start in the Middle East, where airlines like Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad have long treated the sky like a showroom. We're talking onboard bars, first-class showers, and suites that rival five-star hotel rooms. For these airlines, the seat is only part of the product. What they're really selling is the feeling of belonging to a higher tier. Then there's Asia. Think Singapore Airlines, Cathay Pacific, Japan Airlines. They don't always go for over-the-top extravagance, but they've mastered precision luxury. Impeccable service, meticulous cabin design, and innovative premium offerings. EVA Air in Taiwan even introduced premium economy way back in the 1990s, long before it became a buzzword elsewhere. Over in Europe, things get a little more restrained. Airlines like Lufthansa and British Airways still offer first class, but only on select long-haul routes, and usually with fewer seats, sometimes just 8 to 10 in the entire cabin. The focus is shifting toward high-end business class with lie-flat seats and improved service, especially on high-demand routes like London, New York, or Paris, Tokyo. And then there's the US, which, let's be honest, was late to the premium party. For years, American carriers focused more on cramming as many seats as possible into narrow planes. First class on domestic flights often just meant a wider seat and a free drink. But that's changing. United's Polaris cabins now feature full lie-flat beds and upgraded lounges. Delta's Delta One suites come with sliding doors. Even premium economy is expanding with offerings like United Premium Plus and Delta Premium Select, aimed at those who want more than coach but aren't quite ready to drop $5K on a lie-flat bed. Here's what's fascinating. The lines are blurring. Gulf carriers are adding premium economy. American carriers are upgrading their business class to match the flashiness of their Middle Eastern and Asian rivals. Everyone's converging on the same idea. Travel is no longer just about transportation. It's about tiered experiences. It might look like just another upgrade, but reconfiguring a plane's cabin is more like signing a long-term contract with the future. And breaking it isn't easy. Once an airline decides to install fewer seats and invest in premium pods, it's committing to that layout for 5 to 10 years, sometimes longer. Why? Because every seat placement is tied to certification, safety approvals, supply chain logistics, crew training, and millions in upfront investment. Once those holes are drilled into the floor for the seat tracks, there's no undo button. Take Lufthansa, for example. Their Allegris project is a $2.7 billion revamp of their long-haul fleet. Not only are they adding a brand new first-class suite, but they're also redesigning business, premium economy, and even economy, aiming for consistency and comfort across the board. That kind of overhaul takes years to plan and even more time to roll out. Air France is doing the same with its La Première suites. Each one takes up the space of at least 5 economy seats, but the airline is betting that 4 ultra-premium passengers are worth more, financially and reputationally, than 50 coach flyers squeezed together. And timing matters. During the pandemic, while most planes were grounded, savvy airlines used the downtime to refit cabins and place long-term orders for next-gen interiors. Now that demand is roaring back, they're ready to cash in. But of course, with big bets come big risks, and that's what we're digging into next. If everything goes according to plan, a cabin full of business-class passengers is a goldmine. But if anything slips, it can turn into a very expensive headache. Let's say an airline plans to fly a jet with luxury suites from New York to Tokyo. They've sold every seat at a premium, and then the aircraft has a last-minute mechanical issue. The replacement plane? No fancy suites, just regular business class, or worse, nothing close. Now, the airline has a plane full of angry elite travelers expecting caviar and privacy doors. And all they're getting is a reclining seat and a "we're sorry" voucher. That's a PR nightmare and potentially tens of thousands in refunds or upgrades. Or take airport lounges. Delta, for example, found itself in hot water recently because too many people qualified for lounge access. Between high-spending travelers and premium credit card holders, their sky clubs became so crowded that people were lining up outside just to get in. The response? Stricter rules, higher fees, and some very vocal backlash. Even the business travelers airlines depend on are evolving. Before the pandemic, big corporations sent employees flying around the world for meetings that now happen on Zoom. The ones who do fly? They're flying smarter and often expect more comfort in fewer trips. That's where a new kind of passenger steps in, the blended traveler. They're part business, part vacation, and 100% willing to pay for peace and quiet at 35,000 feet. But this group is still unpredictable. Airlines are gambling that their desire for luxury will grow. But if it doesn't, those pricey seats could go empty. And we're not done yet, because while all this sounds like a game of high-stakes luxury, the impact is coming straight for the economy cabin. And it's not great news. Here's what most travelers really want: a seat that's wide enough to stretch out, a quiet corner to sleep, and a flight that doesn't feel like a survival challenge. Not everyone needs a 5-star meal or a wine list with pairings. For many, luxury just means not arriving sore and sleep-deprived. And that's where something like AirAsia X's premium flatbed comes in. Some call it the poor man's business class. It's not fancy. There's no champagne on boarding or sliding doors. But what you do get is a full-length bed, a little more privacy, and a decent night's rest. And you might pay hundreds, sometimes even over $1,000 less than traditional business class. On routes like Melbourne to Kuala Lumpur, this middle-tier seat hits a sweet spot. You don't get all the bells and whistles, but you get what matters most: sleep and space. So here's the question. If passengers clearly want this kind of no-frills comfort, why don't more airlines offer it? Why are so many cabins split into two extremes? Tight, uncomfortable economy or ultra-luxurious business and first? Is economy being kept deliberately miserable just to make the upgrade feel more tempting? Premium economy helps fill some of that gap. But truly flatbeds without the frills? They're still rare. Maybe that's a missed opportunity. Or maybe it's by design. Either way, the consequences are already landing in the economy cabin. And for millions of travelers, that's where it hits hardest. At first glance, all this talk about luxury seating and high-rolling travelers might sound like it doesn't affect you, but it absolutely does. Every time an airline removes rows of economy seats to install more business class, it means fewer cheap seats for everyone else. And when supply drops but demand stays the same, or worse, goes up, what happens? Yep, prices climb. Say goodbye to that $299 round trip to Europe if your plane now has 60 fewer economy seats. Even if you never touch a lie-flat seat in your life, you're competing with more people for fewer spots in the back. And airlines know it. That's why they're subtly nudging regular travelers toward premium economy, those in-between seats that offer a bit more legroom, a better meal, and a much higher price tag. It's not just about comfort anymore. It's about survival of the booking. Miss that 21-day advance fare window? You might end up paying almost as much for a middle seat in row 42 as someone sipping champagne up front. And don't forget, the shrinking of economy also means more crowding back there, more competition for overhead bin space, longer boarding times, more stress. Meanwhile, just a few feet away, someone's being handed a warm towel and a dessert menu. It's not personal, it's strategy. But it definitely feels personal when your leg is cramping and the guy in front just reclined into your lap. And that might be the most worrying part. Economy class has become so cramped, so joyless, that those who can afford to upgrade will, and those who can't are quietly giving up on flying altogether. In a world that's increasingly split between the haves and the have-nots, maybe this two-class cabin system isn't just a business strategy. Maybe it's a mirror. So, is this shift toward luxury good for travelers? Or are the airlines leaving too many people behind? We've got one last chapter. Let's wrap it all up. Airlines aren't just removing seats, they're rewriting the rules of who gets what in the sky. More comfort for fewer people. Might sound like a win if you're in the lucky few. But for the average traveler, it means less legroom, fewer deals, and a tougher time finding a seat that doesn't break the bank. Still, you can't really blame the airlines. When just a handful of passengers can generate 30% or more of your revenue, the math speaks for itself. And let's be honest, if you had to pick between selling 10 $5,000 tickets or 100 $300 ones, which would you choose? The real question isn't whether this strategy makes sense for the airlines, it's whether it works for you. So are airlines playing it smart by betting big on luxury travelers, or are they slowly pushing regular folks to the back, both literally and figuratively? Have you noticed fewer cheap seats lately? Would you ever splurge on a business class ticket just once to try it out? Let us know in the comments. We're curious, because what's happening up there in row 1 is starting to matter a whole lot to those of us back in row 39. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more smart travel content, and hey, maybe share this with a friend who still thinks business class is just about a free drink and a warm towel. Thanks for watching, and happy flying, no matter which end of the plane you're on.